Hello, everybody. Welcome to this workshop. Sorry for the slight delay. We've been having a few technical issues. I've said that quite a lot today already. Good. We've got this workshop we're just about 3 minutes old. We've got 4 presentations, so we've got quite a lot to get through. Hopefully, it'll be really interesting. We do have time for questions as well, so we've got some towards the end, but we're going to try and collate them. And between myself and Susan, who's helping me here, we'll collate them and put some questions together at the end for the different panelists. This is a really important event. We've got a range of different speakers and I'm just doing a very quick introduction. So Amy, who's from the Spirit of 2012, will be starting the program off. The theme of it is around getting the most inclusive approach, and GOGA, which is around improving access to facilities in an inclusive way for both disabled and non-disabled people, is at the forefront of that. So we want to really focus on that aspect. There's been 3 specific programs, or 2 specific ones in London and one that's developing in Haringey. We're going to hear from different speakers who've been developing that approach, that inclusive approach to improve outcomes more generally, an integrated approach for the wider population. Obviously, at present, there's particular issues around COVID, and we've been hearing about this over the last 2.5 days, and I think this space will be a good one to reflect against the particular challenge for disabled people and the disproportionate impacts that COVID's had on a lot of disabled people in terms of accessing physical activity and life chances per se. So I'm sure we'll touch on that through the range of speakers. Each of the speakers have got their own presentations. We're going to do our best to attempt to stick to time, but we've got quite a short lead-in time. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand off to Amy, who hopefully will be able to share her screen and her presentation. Who's going to go through the Spirit of 2012 and the inception and development of the GOGA model. Amy?
Thank you so much, Mark. Hi, everyone. So I'm Amy.
Hello, Amy. I've got a frozen Amy at the moment.
Oh, can people hear me?
I can hear you, Amy. Carry on, Mark.
Okay, so I'm Head of Programs and Impact at Spirit of 2012, which
okay. Can you not hear me, Amy?
Yes, I can. Yes. Which is the funder of GOGA. I'm going to share my.
Might be that what we have to do is we might have to change some of the running order.
Sorry. It's Mark. Can you hear me, Mark?
Yes, I can.
So I can hear Amy. She's fine. So if you just stop, Amy will continue. Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So I'm just getting used to this technology. So I'm going to share my screen. When I share my screen, I can't see everyone. So fingers crossed that this works well. Okay, so Spirit of 2012, as Mark said, is the original funder of GOGA, and it's our biggest funding single program to date. So it will be 7.5 million of our 47 million endowment by the end. We were founded in 2013 as the legacy funder for the Olympic and Paralympic Games. So inclusion has been really part of at the heart of everything we do from the beginning. So briefly, Get Active. It began in 2016 in 18 localities across the UK. As Mark said, 2 of those are in London in the first round, and then is continuing now in 21 localities. And we were delighted to be joined as a funder by Sport England and the London Marathon Trust. What GOGA is about is supporting people, particularly with low levels of activity, to improve their well-being and make connections with others through physical activity. And it's not really about reaching high numbers of participants, although people are doing exceedingly well on that. It's really about giving organisations the space and resource to think about who they're reaching, try new approaches, and you know, I think inactivity levels have been something that's really persistent, and there's a lot of great ideas about how to tackle them, but often organisations don't have the time and space to be able to try new things. Is one of the big things we want to do with GOGA. And as Mark said, disabled and non-disabled people being active together is absolutely at the heart of this, rather than having separate provision. There is definitely a space for separate provision. I'm not saying there isn't, but what we were hearing from disabled people that we work with was that they wanted to join in with activities with the people that they love, their friends, their family, and they didn't need always to have segregated specialist provision. Okay, I'm hopefully going to play this lovely video of one of the GOGA participants, not a Londoner, it's based in Nottingham, and her story of being through GOGA.
My name is Asmita Nathwani and my age is 55. My volunteer role is in getting involved with all the different activities. It could be at community centres, it could be anywhere. I wanted to volunteer for GOGA because I dead easily get bored in being sitting in the house all day. I can't sit still, I've got to do something. When the GOGA started, I said, yeah, I want to join in voluntary, because then I'm mixing with other people. And get involved and see what sort of things they do for me to have a go as well, because you don't know what's there for disabled people unless you go and find out yourself. And I said, can I do some voluntary help out and go? And she goes, love for you to have a go. And they said, oh, would you like to come and join? I thought, yeah, why not? And she says, would you mind going down there and help them out and that? And I'll say, yeah. And I love it. I've done a boxing, I've done a walking netball, I've done that. I've done a bounce chair where they do the exercise from the chair. I've had a go at doing that. I've been getting active by just over a year ago now. So I thought, right, I need to do something because I want to get active. I got a son who's 21 now. So when my son started at Leisure Centre, he said, Mum, why don't you start again? I said, yeah, I will do. But because my shoulder was hurting me so much as well, so I couldn't. I got a polio when I was in Tanzania. I was about 2 when I got it. I got curved spine, my left leg, which has got no feeling in it, so I wear one full caliper in it, and it's affecting my left side of it. Not as strong, but I do get by. I do things, and I never get me down for it. I never ever let my disability get me down. I like voluntary because I meet different people, and I can do different things. You just go in there to enjoy yourself, and I think that's why I like walking netball. I never done that, and I know I can't lift my arms out as far, but it's enjoyable what you go for. And it wasn't about the walking netball. I loved about the ladies. The ladies are absolutely lovely ladies. It's like family they are. And I love every one of them. When I was little, my life wasn't a very good life I had a really bad life where my family didn't believe in me, that I was always being put down, thinking I wasn't good at things. In your mind, you feel that you're not worth it. So you go through that years and years and years. So 50 years of my life, that's how I felt. After when I joined, not just the GOGA and everything, but most of it is GOGA, doing all the activities, and that it's made my life happier, and I enjoy every bit of it because I get up for it as well. Last year, a couple of days I was crying because I'm thinking, that's not me anymore. I'm not upset about what people did to my life or my family did to me. It's me now. It's all about me, and if people's giving me that chance, don't even let them bully me or make me feel down anymore. I just keep going up and thinking, no, I am what I am, better than I thought I was. My advice is, go out there and do. whatever you can to get active. If I can do it, you can do it as well. Just go and have a go. So I couldn't go back now. I'm going forward about everything what I want to do now, and I don't sit back. I just go.
Okay, I know that was quite a long video, but I think really testifies to the work that you guys are all doing and the transformational power of getting active in Asminta's life, and then the way that she's progressed into volunteering with GOGA as well. And then I don't want to steal the thunder of the three projects that are going to talk about what they're doing, but I've had the opportunity to visit some of those during my time in Spirit, and they really landed with me. I went to a sporting memory session in Roehampton, which was older people, and the residential home was being trained by GOGA staff on how to deliver a mix of activity related to sport, physical activity, and then also kind of games and memories related to sport. I've been to a trip to Battersea Park to see the GOGA team there, and to speak to Maurice and Stephen, who were a pair of mentor and mentee, who again listening to their story and the way that kind of gentle peer support had really supported Stephen to become active in lots of different ways in his life and become a mentor himself, and how Maurice as the mentor had also got a lot from it too. And then I've had the pleasure of going to the annual conference 3 times, once virtually, and just seeing the space that organisations have to think differently about what they're doing. One lead in Scotland had talked about how they changed what they were doing, moving away from the idea of sport and terming things physical activity, looking more expansively at walking and things like that to reach people. I just want to finally leave you with my top 5 takeaways from GOGA. The first one is the kind of importance of demographic data, looking at who's in the room and why aren't they there, and building up that kind of conversation about, am I reaching the right people, and if not, why not? The second one is this principle of being active together. So one of the most interesting things I thought the data was showing early on is that the families of disabled children often had really low levels of activity. They were kind of sitting on the sidelines, even in the car park, in the cafe at the leisure centre, and lots of GOGA activity has been about bringing them so that everyone can participate together in things. This one, big numbers won't tell you the full story. This is a kind of mantra for us at Spirit, that we know it costs more for organisations to involve the right people. So being able to justify that, to not look at headcount or kind of cost per person, and to link that first one, who's in the room and how do you get them there. Again, a message I think that's important as a funder for us is that what happens around the activity is as important or more so than the activity itself. So as Min's talking about the friendship she's made there, the cake and coffee at the end of a session, the networking before, the phone calls to encourage people to come along, or all that thing. Again, all of that costs money. So if funders are looking at costs of paying for an hour-long session, that's not enough. All of the work that people are doing around it is hugely valuable to getting people to come and getting people to stick at it. And I think finally, I've just seen some really interesting partnerships between different organisations, from disabled led organisations being in the lead of a partnership, to sporting and non-sporting organisations working together. It's really interesting ways that GOGA has allowed people to think differently about the activity that they're doing. That is me. I'm going to stop sharing, and hopefully that's worked. Didn't see anyone in that, so that's quite odd, but hopefully that's all worked.
Lots of people here, Amy, and listening I think Mark has a slight issue with his volume again. So thank you for that presentation. As Mark said at the beginning, we've got very little time. So we will, without further ado, move into the next session, which is Nara and Palmy. So Nara and Palmy, if you want to get set up, while they are doing that, just to say to people that if anyone does have any questions, please use the question and answer function to do that. Palmy, can you hear me? Are you ready to go? Palmy, I can see you, but I can't hear you. Are you ready to go? Okay, so Palmy, I'm not sure if you're muted or if you're, you seem to be talking, but I can't hear you, unfortunately. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave Palmy and sorry, Katie, but perhaps come to you slightly earlier than was expected. Are you okay to present now, Katie? And we'll come back to Palmy again.
Yep, I'm good to go. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. You're a star. Thank you very much. So without further ado, moving on to Katie. Thank you.
Thanks. So I am also going to share my screen, and like Amy said, I'll be just talking to my computer. I won't be able to see anyone, which is a bit strange, but hopefully everyone will be able to see this okay. Spoiler alert there. Yeah, so thanks, my name's Katie Hall, I'm Sports Development Officer from Enable Leisure and Culture, and I came in kind of at the last year of GOGA Active in Wandsworth, but have really, you know, learned quite a lot from this experience. It's been one of the more exciting projects I've been part of. So I just want to share some experiences and learning from us here in Wandsworth. Just a bit of a background, a kind of overview from us. We were part of the first wave of the GOGA localities. We initially focused most of our activity in Roehampton. This is due to Roehampton being quite a secluded area within Wandsworth. The transport links aren't that great. We also, it's one of the highest areas of deprivation within the borough, and it's one where it was really kind of highlighted that there was more activity needed, and GOGA really fitted what we could bring to that area. We wanted to ensure that we had provision for all ages and abilities. I know a lot of funders, and I'll come on to GOGA and the flexibility of it in a minute. But you know, normally when you apply for funding, it might be for a specific age group or specific classification or category or group. And the good thing about GOGA was that we could look at how we provided for all ages and abilities, especially within that Roehampton area, because it is such a big mix. Just a couple of pictures going to flash up. So this is our Sport and Memories group that Amy was talking about. One of the key things, and again, towards what Amy was saying at the end of her presentation, for us was partnership working, especially in this year. And I will come on to it a little bit later, and how those partnerships have really helped us with the sustainability of GOGA, and then looking forward to kind of what we can do in the future with GOGA. And the last part, I'm going to touch on this in a minute, this is a kind of quick overview, is it gave us the flexibility to trial different activities, some successful and some not. And part of that learning, which I'll share, kind of drove us to where, you know, the sessions that we have now, and it kind of helped us, the unsuccessful ones, we really learned from them, and using like the Talk to Me principles really helped with getting those successful sessions in the end. So yeah, the flexibility of GOGA, GOGA gives the opportunity to try out different ideas, and that's one of the great things about it, and I think Amy touched on that as well. We wanted to see what worked best within the community, and what provided the best for that community. Instead of saying we're going to do this sport, we wanted to make sure that we were doing things that worked with the community as a whole, especially in the area of Roehampton. So initially we had a few in the first couple of years that were trial and error. So here's a couple of examples of sessions that we tried within the area and just didn't work. There's a few reasons to this, that kind of helped drive the sessions that did work. It kind of helped with our thinking and our knowledge as to how to make those sessions work. So for example, things like not doing consultation really in the initial discussions. We just kind of said, oh, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this, without really speaking to the people and the community and the partners within Roehampton to find out what they wanted and what activity they were looking for. So initially there was not really that consultation. It was just, let's try some different activities. We didn't really, again, look at the, we put on the men's swimming, for example. Was it Putney Leisure Centre? The time wasn't great, the schedule wasn't great, and again, it just came down to that consultation and really seeing what everyone wanted and what times we could get, and also having the kind of facilities in the right place and getting the right times for those was a bit of a challenge. But what we found from looking more at the Talk to Me principles from Activity Alliance, which I'll come on to in a wee second, we were able to get more successful sessions. So for example, our women's only yoga, our sport and memory session, and our qigong came from looking at those Talk to Me principles and really working with the groups that we have within the area. We don't have a specific DPO, so we need to really focus on who can our local partners be and who can our partners be to work with to make these sessions work. And also making sure that we have that consultation with the groups, with these partners. And yeah, like I said, when we come to kind of more inclusive side, the younger sessions, again, we really needed to look at those partners and to look at what the schools wanted, for example, and what other people we can work with in the community. And it really came down to looking at these Talk to Me principles from Activity Alliance, and they have really helped shape what GOGA looks like to us and how we then move forward from that. So really, when we're trying to set up an activity, it's not just a case of, oh, we don't have, everyone has football, but let's say we don't have football within the area, let's just put it on for the sake of it. Now we have these Talk to Me principles at the forefront, thinking, right, let's go to the groups that are close to where we want to host this activity. Do they want that activity? Is it something that they would like? Would they like something else? How can you really kind of mold that activity towards the people that are within that community and within that area? The next part, we're looking at how we kind of embedded the GOGA ethos and that inclusivity throughout all of our programs, as well as the different parts of our organisation. So we've been working throughout GOGA and beyond to ensure that we have inclusivity at the forefront of our thinking, and I think that's really key, especially when we're setting up activities that any new activities have that inclusivity really at the forefront, and that comes down to things like training and working with the right people and the right partners. The value of their ethos and the importance of continuing the legacy has led from my job initially was a year fixed contract and is now in a permanent role, because Enable see the value of GOGA and see the value of having someone that's had that experience of that to then try and embed it throughout all the other programs, which has been great for me, because obviously going from a job that I really love to be able to do that for a bit longer is great. It's created stronger links with different disability and community groups, so there are groups within the whole of Wandsworth that we maybe didn't tap into before, the likes of the sheltered housing officers. We didn't really have too much to do with them before GOGA, and since setting up likes of Sport and Memories, we've had a much better partnership with them to be able to facilitate things for that community. And from that, we've now set up a new disability network and in the process of setting up a community of practice to continue working with clubs, coaches, volunteers and groups on how we can make our clubs throughout the whole of Wandsworth more inclusive. We wanted to ensure that we could sustain the GOGA sessions after the programme, so this is made possible due to this embedding in the sessions and also working with partners. So sustainability aspects, there's a few points to this I think were really key to enable our sessions to be sustainable. The first was the volunteers and workforce. So we use things like Team London recruitment, Volunteer Matters, and our different partners to find that workforce, which led on to training, to looking at doing IEP sessions, inclusive activity programme sessions, and specific sessions throughout the borough to help our clubs be more inclusive and to help our volunteers and our partners be more inclusive, so that we can then continue those sessions. Our programme transfer, so we were really lucky within Enable to have our health and wellbeing team who run an active lifestyles programme. So through GOGA, we were able to kind of merge with them, and we were able to sustain our yoga, our stretching movement, and qigong sessions as part of their offer, which we're really lucky to have. And I know not everyone has that, but we've been really lucky with that. And lastly, our partnerships. So we've had a few really key partnerships. So Wandsworth Council, Name and High funding, which we have been partners with for so many years, have been really key to help us sustain our one sport sessions, for example. Fulham Football Foundation and the Sheltered Housing Association to help sustain our sport and memories, which we're really keen to help to look at growing. London Sport, of course, just support throughout GOGA, throughout the 3 years of GOGA. Of course, Activity Alliance and their support with likes of IEP, taught me principles, and just getting advice on that inclusivity aspect. And then, of course, key GOGA partnerships, so Age UK, Disability Rights UK, Volunteer Matters and Sporting Equals have been key kind of contacts. Even if we've not worked too closely with them all, it's been really key to look at how we can, in the future, use those contacts to grow more inclusive sessions. And lastly, just what GOGA looks like from now on for us. So we're going to continue to look for opportunities to provide IEP and other relevant training to support the development of inclusivity. Oh, this is COVID, that was supposed to be first. COVID plans. So over the course of lockdown, we've had really good connections with our Sport and Memories group, with volunteers doing weekly phone calls, food drops, some activities and challenge through Fulham, through our own volunteers, which has been great. And also the sessions from our active lifestyles that have moved on to active lifestyles have been able to do online classes, which has been great throughout the coronavirus lockdown. We want to continue and further development of peer mentoring. So we started that last year. I know Lambeth have done a really good job with their peer mentoring, and we want to try and kind of emulate that. And that's something that we're really working on, trying to grow and build that. Continue to support our GOGA sessions and expand programmes where possible. And then also looking for funding in the future for further inclusive programmes, working with local clubs to build their inclusive offer. But really, I think the key message is, having that, having good partnerships, but also ensuring that you're having that kind of inclusivity at the forefront of your thinking whenever you're want to set up new activities. Are there groups within the community, within your area that you can tap into to kind of really help boost that activity and provide for everyone? So yeah, just thanks for listening. It's been a bit strange just talking to a presentation, but I hope hope that's been all right. So thank you. I'm gonna stop.
Thanks, Katie. I've given up assuming that Mark's going to speak at all. So Mark, if you can hear me, please do join. Yeah, thanks for that, Katie, and thanks for the shout out for London Sport. That's always welcome. So if anyone has joined us since the beginning, we've had 4 presentations. We've had 2 already. We've got 2 to come. There'll be an opportunity for questions at the end. Please use the question and answer function to put in any questions. We're running fairly tight, so I am going to invite Pammy to join us again. Pammy, you would like to see if you can present this time? So Pammy, can you hear me? Okay, so I'm guessing you can hear me, but I can't hear you. I'm not 100% sure why that is. I don't know whether you've got your volume. I can only turn off your audio. I can't turn you on. But I don't know what is happening while you do that. Andrea and Dan, I'm hoping that you're on standby, maybe to jump in again. I think that might be the best option. So Pammy, we're going to go to Andrea and Dan just now. I will get in touch with you separately to see if we can sort out what this volume issue is. So Dan and Andrea, thank you, and over to you.
Okay, thanks very much. Dan's just going to share his screen, and I'll introduce our session. So my name's Andrea Keeble. I'm the Commissioning Manager for Active Communities in Haringey. Very pleased to be able to talk to you today about our GOGA project, which is just kicking off. We're in the second wave. I too would like to do a bit of a shout out to London Sport, and I promise I haven't been paid to do this, but I have to say London Sport were really, really helpful in building our relationship with the Activity Alliance and helping us move a project to a position where it was able to start and draw in the funding and so on and so forth. So thanks very much for that support. I also just, before I introduce Dan and get him talking, just want to give a little bit of background. First of all, about Dan, I think we're very lucky in Haringey that Dan joined us. He's come from a very strong disability background and so passionate about, wanting people who are disabled and all the types of disability across the range, young and old, to get involved in sport and to ensure that disabled people are more active in an inclusive way. So we're really, really lucky in the borough to have Dan, and it's been instrumental, I think, in getting the project going. So Dan, if we could move to the next slide. Also in Haringey, we've got some conditions, both good and bad, I think, which meant that the project can work in Haringey. So our project is focusing on ensuring that young people who are potentially going to get involved in crime, who may be disabled, may not be disabled, but to get them involved and get them more active and involved in sport. It's not exclusively for that cohort, but that's certainly one of the big targets. We've got a big problem in Haringey, as I say. One of the conditions in Haringey is this issue around youth violence. And that comes from the fact that, the borough is pretty deprived. Yes, we have a very wealthy part of the borough, which is part of the problem, really. We've got a borough of two halves. But in the east of the borough, around Tottenham, we've got some real issues around deprivation and inequality and so on. And I don't need to tell any of you, but I mean, that leads to inactivity. And of course, it's even worse with people who are disabled. So we've got some of the conditions to get a project like this going. On the good side, we've also got that strategic impetus with our borough plan, with its priorities around people, place, economy, and that's replicated and drawn out in terms of our physical activity strategy, which talks about active people and active place and active economy. We are part of the action plan for the Young People at Risk strategy. The GOGA project is a big part of that. And, Dan has drawn in a lot of support from our community safety team and so on to get this project going. We have been affected by COVID. We haven't been able to get really, really into it. But what has happened and what is brilliant, and I think it talks to a little bit to what Katie was saying before, it's not about big numbers and so on. It's about changing perceptions, and that's already happening in Haringey. We are really becoming more and more inclusive. before, I think there was a lot of talk about it, but now it's actually really getting embedded into everything we do, not just in sport and physical activity, but across the borough. It's creating a wave, it's creating a momentum, it's changing perceptions, you know, and it's not a discrete project, it's a way of working across the piece. So I'm going to hand on to Dan now, who's going to talk more about the sort of delivery aspects and so on. But once again, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to talk to you today.
Thanks, Andrea, and afternoon, everyone. I hope you can all hear me well, and the screen's working well. Yeah, I'd just like to start off a bit around our GOGA delivery and these sort of 4 key areas that you can see on your screen, and just tell you a bit more about them, about sort of the work that we're doing. So the first one we'll move on to is the mentoring and the leadership. By this, what I mean is we want to make sure that we already have really good community leaders within our communities, and we want to use the project to promote and publicize these community leaders as much as we can. But what we also want to do is try and get young people not only to have the opportunity to engage and have these local role models, but to become a local role model themselves and have an opportunity to be mentored, but also to have the opportunity to mentor others and become that sort of leader figure in the local community. As part of this, it works quite nicely into our sort of workforce training and the employability strand of what we're doing. We know that the sort of workforce training and education is a big part of what we need to do, and we have some idea of what that looks like, but we want to make sure what is really needed. So we're doing a lot in terms of working with people with lived experience to ask about their experience of being engaged within physical activity and sport and active recreation, so that we can identify areas of need in terms of our training and improving that, but also asking our local providers to do a lot of self-reflection as well, and to really look inwards about saying, okay, what are we good at and what aren't we good at? What can we improve on? And part of this will be, it's going to be an ongoing process. It's not going to be, we do one round of consultation, deliver 7 training programs, whatever that might be, and then that's it. It'll be sort of, okay, after that's done, okay, what's next? Are we at a point where we're good enough, or what else do we need to improve? And it's going to be an ongoing thing even past our GOGA project as well. And it's something that we want to continuously reflect on and make sure that we're getting better and we are improving. In terms of the physical activity opportunities that we're designing, the key thing about this, again, as the other presentations have alluded to and Andrea mentioned, is that consultation with young people and with our local community. At the end of the day, the activities are for them, so we didn't want to just plonk a load of activities in a certain area and say, here you go, you've got lots of stuff to do, that's fine. It's more the idea of building from the ground up. There can be quite a slow process as well. We're consulting with a lot of young people, we're consulting with a lot of the community, talking to a lot of different partners to get a better understanding, and we're just doing it part by part and developing it slowly but slowly we're building the scaffolding to create those solid foundations. And throughout all of this work is that inclusion and equality, and the idea that we're trying to engage not only those individuals that are physically inactive, but those individuals that have just less opportunities in life in general, whether that's to do with employment, whether that's to do with role models, whether that's to do with physical activity, no matter what that might be. We're looking to engage them in something that's more than just active recreation. And obviously this is all underpinned by the GOGA values and the GOGA ethos that we've spoken about today, and the Talk to Me principles and how we sort of apply those, and everything that we do and everything that we try to deliver always leads back to, does it meet the values, does it meet the ethos of GOGA? Next, I just want to talk to you a bit about, I've called it our vision, but it's a bit about the sort of work that we've started to do. And at the top of there, you can see the sort of, this was our unique selling point when we first were developing our project idea, our project plan to Activity Alliance, and say, this, we've got this idea, this is what we want to do. Are you interested? Can you help us develop it? And again, it is about engaging disabled and non-disabled young people and adults living in the most deprived areas of our borough, some of the most deprived areas of the UK. And it will include activities aimed at those affected by gang culture and violent crime. And I've included a couple of bullet points about sort of the type of things that we're doing and how we're going to go about doing this. The idea is this idea of these sort of place-based activities, and as we're well aware, we know from our sort of local insight where areas of need are. So we're targeting specific areas of need that we're already sort of aware of, and we're delivering in sort of a variety of sessions. We're open to deliver in different areas, different alternative types. It doesn't always have to be the local leisure centre. We're looking at maybe delivering sort of churches, parks, open spaces, community centres, libraries, and wherever our need might be. But that will all be based on consultation with our local community, with young people, with local organisations, to see where people feel safe, where they feel they are a part of, where they feel that they want to go to. And that will be a big part in sort of underpinning all that. It's all going to be led and driven by them. And that leads on to the next bit about that sort of driven by user-led groups and organisations. With this one, I just want to give you an idea of sort of the stuff that we're doing. We're doing a youth-led consultation work with a group called the Haringey Youth Advisory Board. We approached them with the GOGA idea, said, look, this is GOGA, this is what our vision is for it. Can you help us sort of drive this and bring it to life? And we asked them to develop the consultations, or the questions we're going to ask, how we're going to ask them, where we're going to go to collect the information. The young people then went and delivered the consultation themselves, so just young people having conversations with other young people about their issues, what sort of barriers they have, are they involved in sort of activities, why not, would you like to be, what type of activities, things along those lines. From the consultation, they developed a report with recommendations, says there's a sort of, we want this at this time in this type of area. And we're currently just working on, now the young people will go forward and commission these activities. So they're going to start talking to providers and try and identify the best people to deliver their recommendations. And this idea that it is the young people delivering the consultation, driving the ideas, and then driving the delivery forward. And we want to give them their ownership of the program. And again, as I say, these are activities designed by young people, for young people, because the activities are for them. In terms of how it's encompassing our wider work, and again, Andrea mentioned about it sort of having quite far-reaching impact into our work. And it's not just that we want to have this really good GOGA program, saying, we're doing this lovely delivery. It's really inclusive. But then next to me, a colleague is sat there doing some of their work that we're not included within this. And one example of that is we do an active clubs program most years. We've done a slight change this year. We've changed it to our sort of Haringey Inclusive Club Fund. But what we've done is we've embedded the ethos and the values of the GOGA program within that bid, so that anyone that does apply for the funding needs to consider and needs to meet the values that GOGA has set out. So not only will it start having organisations trying to think a bit differently about their work, and for them to think a bit more inclusively and about how they might change and reflect about how they can be better, but also for the ones who are funded, it will have a wide-reaching effect on not only our our own organisation, but also their organisation as well for hopefully for going past, even if GOGA sort of ends in the borough in terms of funding, we can continue that learning and have that far-reaching and long-lasting impacts that we're hoping the project to get. And again, we want to use the learning that we're having to affect and improve our commissioning. So whether we're commissioning our summer holiday program, whether we're commissioning a walks program or leisure centres, we want to use the learning and use what we're getting from GOGA and the understanding we're getting from doing this consultation and the experience to better inform our commissioning going forward to hopefully get more or better outcomes for our local community. I mean, that's just an overshot of what we're doing. That's me done now. I say we're very early on in our projects. We're our sort of first year, and we had to take into account as our first COVID year as well. So really excited about the sort of work we get to do over the next few years, and it's an exciting time and an exciting project to be part of. So yeah, thank you to London Sport for having us on and letting us talk about this exciting project, and I'll hand you back to them. Thanks.
Thank you, Daniel. You are most welcome. And thanks, Andrea, for your shout out as well. It's really interesting to see or to hear about the similarities across the different programmes and across the different boroughs. So hopefully for our last speaker, we're now going to go and hear from Lambeth. So Pammy, I am hoping that the audio challenges that we've had.
I got it sorted.
Hey, I can hear you now. So
yes.
I will hand over to you with no further ado to continue the presentation. Thank you, and sorry for the challenges.
I'm just the speaker. Nara is would be doing the presentation. I'm just the speaker. And I started with Intersport in February 2019. I was introduced to it because I got arthritis bad in both knees, and I was introduced to do the swimming to help to make the muscles stronger and also reduce weight. And I meet a lot of friends, and it helps me a lot. When we had the lockdown, Intersport was very important to me. The benefit from that is to help maintain my health and well-being, and with the exercise to help the weight gain. And I get to interact and with lots of others, friends only, and I felt that I wasn't isolated, and it motivates me to do more of an exercise and look forward to the people coming on that we could have, and we have coffee mornings and lots of different exercise. The exercises vary, we have different days, and I look forward to it because where I'm living on my own, it's really a good thing. So I feel I'm not isolated, and I'm gaining people to interact with at the same time. So, and I make friends, many of who I'm not seen for a while at the swimming because we are not doing it anymore. For the time being, they're trying to get back to it, but it's taking a time because of the COVID. So with the indoors much, it's good for me, my self-esteem, and I feel more relaxed in that way, that I'm not going out too much to interact because of the COVID. And everything that we've done indoors on the screen, it's really exciting and gives me a feel-good factor. And that's mostly what I love about the Intersport, because of my health and well-being is being improved while I'm indoors and not able to go out. I'm not able to do much on the my knees standing, but the exercise on my off body at the top is really good for me. So I appreciate, and I really love the Intersport and would like to continue doing it. Again, my friends are, when I see them on the screen, it made me feel like, even though we're not meeting together, we're just seeing each other. It really improved my health and my feel good factor. That's it.
Thanks, Pammy. Nara is having some challenges.
Nara's supposed to come and do the presentation. I'm not sure if she's on.
She's having some challenges with her internet, so she's not actually on at the moment. So I'm now going.
I haven't got any slide or anything. Just my input into the activities and my benefit from the Intersport project.
And it sounds like, from what you're saying, that this is far more than a benefit for sport. It's a benefit for your social life under COVID as well, because it gives you an opportunity to see other people.
Yes, it builds my self-esteem. I feel, I look forward to it. I'm happy when it's coming on. I get on very early so I could be on it. It's just really my feel-good factor. And it motivates me to do more towards the exercise. And as I said, I look forward to it, and it gives me a good feeling. So it's a good benefit for me all around.
And you've got you're seeing lots of your friends when you're doing that as well. So how many people are joining?
I do. I see the friends I know before, and I gain more friends actually on it as well.
And are the sessions run by Zoom so that you're able to communicate? You're not just listening, you can speak to your friends.
Yes, it's done by Zoom. And I participate in the exercise as I do the sitting because of the knees. But and others friends, they sitting as well. So we all participate with the standing and the sitting.
And everyone's just doing what works for them, and the sessions are adapted for the people's different needs. It sounds fantastic.
Yes, and the tutors are very nice. They're great. They encourage you. I can't find words to describe it. They are very good. It's all into one. We are very good in the tutors are very good in trying to help us to do the exercise in a way that we are not hurting ourselves and we are enjoying it at the same time, and everything is good.
Great, thank you, Pammy. Nara hasn't
You're
joined.
welcome.
Nara hasn't joined us yet, so I don't think we're going to be able to have the presentation from Lambeth at this stage. Maybe if the other presenters would like to come back on screen. Obviously my role I've been promoted from a silent moderator to tech champion, though I'm not obviously very good at that because I haven't managed to fix Mark's problem. But I'm also chairing something that is not my necessary area of expertise. So I need you guys back to help me out. So there's been quite a lot of questions coming through. Amy, you seem to have responded directly to some of your questions. Do you maybe want to give a kind of brief overview about what sorts of questions you've been asked and what what sorts of things are being answered?
Yeah, sure. The two that I saw that just had my name against them. One of them was about getting that balance between the social side of the activity and the exercise of the physical activity itself. Definitely, actually, probably better answered by everyone else on the panel. But from what I've seen when I've been to projects, they've seemed to phase it in quite a lot, or it's been really, really varied depending on the motivations of the participants. So I think the sporting memories session that I visited was one of the really early ones. So they had lots of discussion about memories of football and things like that, and they ended with about 15 minutes of the kind of the physical activity. Later sessions were building that up, or flexing it more substantially. So I think it really, really depends. And the second question that had my name specifically was about how GOGA has shaped Spirit's investment overall. I didn't mention the talk to me principles, but I think they're absolutely key, and they apply whether it's physical activity or actually a lot of our funders in arts and culture, and the same sorts of things around consultation, around going to where people are, thinking about the way that you're reaching out. I mean, it's so consistent across lots of different types of activity. So recommending them across everything has been really important. Yeah, and it's as I say, it's our biggest funding program. So we're always looking for lessons around GOGA that we can apply to other physical activity and the rest of our funding too.
Cool. Thanks, Amy. So there are a couple of other questions specifically being asked to presenters. Sorry, so there's a question that was specifically to Andrea. She's not here, but maybe Dan can answer this on her behalf. But with all the pressures on the local authorities, how do we go about making sure that people with disabilities are not forgotten during the current COVID crisis?
I think it's very important. As I say, I think Mark mentioned it earlier in the earlier on. It's just that the disabled people actually are probably impacted more so by the current situation than anything else. And I think it's important for the local authority to recognise that. How we do it is probably it's going to be hard. It's obviously making sure it's at the forefront of our thinking. So, for example, if we were delivering a new initiative to get inactive people active from our perspective, which is our main goal, is to, okay, then how do we make sure disabled people benefit from that? And finding probably those individuals that will benefit most from what the work we're doing and the commission that we're doing.
Cool. Does anybody else have anything to add on to that? Anything from a slightly different perspective?
Yeah, I think it is just picking up on what Daniel said there, like how it should be forefront of local authorities thinking is how we get this, the groups that are more secluded and more isolated, how to get them back into activity, and what especially those that are maybe they don't have the facilities to use them, how do you really get them engaged? So what we found just from our experience in Sport and Memories is having those regular phone calls, having things where we've been dropping off activities to those that don't have those facilities, and then the likes of any activities that we are starting back, whether it be GOGA or disability and specific activities, is being really open and honest about the measures that are being put in place to really keep everyone safe and secure. And I think that if we're opening up an activity, just making sure that you have that kind of risk assessment and that plan to say this is how you'll come into the space, this is a measure that we're putting in place to ensure that everyone's safe. But yeah, I think every local authority will be slightly different, but it's it should be and it is at the forefront of everyone's minds. I think, just to add on what Daniel was saying.
Thanks, Katie. So another question, which I'm going to kind of slightly change a bit. Apologies to people putting the questions in, but I've now taken over. There's a question around what people think are the benefits, or what the panelists, could feel were the greatest benefits of getting people active together. And I suppose I would just add on to that to understand better how perhaps more challenging this has become during COVID. So are you finding under the current situation that it's more difficult to get people active together and the focus has changed perhaps to just, having segregated groups, or are you still able to get different abilities active together at this time?
If I could come in on the benefits thing, I think one of the biggest things is that it's more fun. We're not just friends with people that have the same ability level or disability or whatever it is as us. And so being able to participate with your friends, no matter what your skills are, or your family, again, it's just a nice way to do it. And so, I've been really moved by stories where I've heard about middle-aged woman being able to do activity with her elderly mother for the first time because of the adapted bikes that she was able to they were able to provide. And then what I said in my presentation about families, siblings being able to participate together rather than one just being dropped off for the activity. I mean, that's how people want to participate, and that means that they will stick at it more. So I will leave the harder question on COVID to my guest, my panelists.
And that answer certainly echoes what Pammy said earlier on about it being a very much a social activity for her during COVID. So Katie, Dan, either of you want to take on the more difficult question?
It's definitely challenging, and I mean, we are finding that participants, especially those with more complex health needs, are very sort of anxious about going back to physical activity and back into sort of active recreational sort of centres and areas and venues. I don't think it's necessarily putting a full stop to it. As I say, there is a lot of individuals that, yes, it's challenging, yes, they're anxious about it, but they want to sort of continue living their lives and they don't want to be sort of trapped indoors. And why online activity is still great and has offered a different aspect to physical activity and delivery in general. I feel like a lot of people are missing out on that sort of human sort of social interaction.
Yep.
But I feel like it's going to be a process of building trust and building confidence again with them, and having sort of an open dialogue with them about sort of coming back and how we can make them feel comfortable back in those sort of face-to-face environments. So yeah, I think it is still possible. There's going to be a challenge, and I don't think all of our participants are ready for that. But I think it's going to be an ongoing process of building that trust and getting them back to a place where they feel confident, they feel comfortable doing that.
Cool. Thanks, Dan. Katie, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think for both bits, for both parts of the question there, what I found from obviously doing kind of junior sessions and older sessions as well, the inclusivity aspect of it, there's so many benefits. One, it's fun, and for kids as well. I think it's with schools nowadays being less. There's more schools that are fully inclusive. They're less specific SEN schools, so it's something children with disabilities or additional needs they're surrounded by their peers all the time. So if you have activities that they can go along to, it's inclusive. I think it's really important to just show that you don't have to have separate sessions, that all the activities can be adapted for everyone that's there, and I think it's something that's it's more fun, like Amy said, as well. You can be there with your peers, and the COVID part of it, like Dan was saying, that building that trust is going to be is really essential, and I think communication as well with your participants, and they might not be happy to come back, but being like, oh, we had a session, this is what we did, this is if it was sport memories, for example, we talked about this, or maybe having a couple of phone calls with that individual, and really listening to their concerns as well, and trying to put them at ease through that communication is really important. We will get there eventually, but I think it's just making sure that we still have that communication with them and just keeping that reassurance and building that trust back up.
Cool, thank you all. So I was one thing that I noted down when I was listening to the presentations was that idea that I think it was Andrea that said it, that people, organisations, people, whatever, it was less about talking about inclusivity, it was moving towards actually taking action. And that links into a couple of the questions that we've had through. So do the speakers think that attitudes towards inclusivity have improved? Is this much more central to what organisations will do? And linked to that, from a local authority perspective, do you really need leadership from the top around this, or what kind of engagement do you need from across an organisation to get action to happen?
I think I think having that leadership does help. However, sometimes I think that message can get lost. Sometimes saying if from the top they're saying a certain message, but they don't actually put in the sort of the mechanisms to deliver that and to do that. Again, they can say all they like, but unless we have it within our sort of remits to do certain things or make change and be allowed to do certain things, it doesn't make any difference. So it is. I think it's that sort of the whole way through. It's about having the person sort of leading and is sort of forward facing and at the top to say, yes, this is something we're interested in, but also have it sort of filtering down right throughout the council. And again, I think it is something that's changing, and this idea of being active with disabled people, again, having disabled people involved in activities that you're involved in as well can change your perspective of what that is as well. And it might be things that you've never really been active or involved in activities with disabled people before, because they've always had their own disability sessions. So I think that also helps change that perspective as well. And I think I don't think it's just within sort of sport and activity and active recreation. I think it is just a wider public perception of disability and how integrated it is as well.
Yeah, I think definitely it's more in the forefront of everyone's mind, inclusivity, and it is just coming back to like things. Everything's more inclusive now. Your transport's easier to get on. Everything, throughout the whole local authority, there's always going to have that kind of inclusivity aspect to it, no matter whether it's art, sport, access to facilities, access to parks, transport. Because it's such a normal aspect of our lives, and it has been for the last, it's been growing, that idea of inclusivity over the last kind of however many years. I think things like, from a sporting perspective, the kind of more exposure through like Paralympics, Special Olympics, that again is getting more people excited about disability sport and also wanting to be involved in it a bit more, which then helps that inclusivity aspect. You get more young people that want to volunteer within disability sections. You get more clubs that are becoming more open to that idea of inclusivity because they've seen it in a really positive light, and I think that's really important to keep spreading that positive message. And I think that's throughout any department within local authorities, inclusivity, and are we making sure that this event's accessible to everyone is definitely becoming a bit more, is definitely becoming more at the forefront.
Good to hear that sort of question is being asked within the local authorities, even at a time like this when you are working through so many hugely challenging situations. Amy, anything to add to that?
I think what we are hearing from the Activity Alliance is that there is a nervousness that COVID could set some of this back. So I think there's a kind of, it's great to hear the kind of positive angle on this, but we also need to be on our guard that, in a kind of rush to get back to normal, in the kind of inclusivity agenda doesn't get left behind. But because people perceive it as too hard or something like that. So I think there's a kind of need to keep making the case, even accepting the kind of the positive side, which I do agree with that what Daniel and Kate said.
Cool, thank you. So we've got time for one more question. So Pammy, I hope you can hear me. You're getting your sharing of your experiences is getting a lot of love from the audience. So thank you so much for doing that. A question specifically for you is what made you want to get in to take part in this project in the first place?
I started because I was having a problem with my knees, mobility, and to do it in the swimming, which will give me the activity, and that was a good thing for me because I get to involve with more people because I'm a loner. I'm living on my own, so that was a good thing for me to join the to join the intersport to do the activity of the swimming for my niece. So that was very good. Coming from there, I get to interact with more people, and as I said, build my self-esteem up more. I get the feel-good factor of each and every one of the people I meet, and the more I'm meeting more people, there, you know, when we get to a group, when it was a bit sunny, we got to do some exercise outdoors, and we saw each other, and they said, "Hi, Palmy," and you know, all that. As they say, laughing is medicine,
Yep.
so that helps as well. Everything was really great. So I enjoy myself and hoping that when it's all the COVID are finished and we're able to go outside, it will be even more healthier for us to be laughing with each other and having that exercise, which is, as I said, a good thing. Exercise, medicine. As we are indoors more, we eat more, tend to go and get a cup of tea and I eat biscuit. The Zoom now is really very, very important to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Pammy. I love your experiences. The idea that you started this as to help your physical health, but actually it's moved on to be so much more for you. It's addressing some social challenges that you're facing. It's keeping mental health very positive. So you're such a poster woman for the activity. So thank you very much. So thank you to everyone for attending, especially Pammy, but not Pammy, everyone else. Thank you to our interpreters, so Tom and Bibi, thank you for all your efforts. And thank you, of course, to all our presenters. So thanks to Amy, to Katie, to Dan, Andrea, and of course to Pammy and to Nara, who never unfortunately was able to join us. So yeah, and thank you for everyone who's been attending. We've posted a link to a survey, so please give us some feedback. Don't be too harsh on my performance. Try my best. Yeah, thank you all for joining us, and please do check the schedule so that there are lots of other sessions that we can join London both today and tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.